If tonight you feel weary and find it hard to sleep, please lie still. Take a deep breath and listen to your own breath. Perhaps all day today, you've had to shoulder too many burdens. Thoughts, worries, and pressures are like invisible ropes wrapped around your mind, making your mind race endlessly, even though your body is still. But human life doesn't always have to be so tough. True happiness only begins when we allow our mind to rest, to settle down, to return to itself. In a volatile world, everyone experiences moments of vulnerability. Sometimes, just an unintentional word, a minor failure, or an unformed worry can keep us awake all night. The more you think, the wearier your body becomes. The more you try to forget, the more you remember. The more you wish to sleep peacefully, the more you toss and turn. Is it not that humans suffer not because life is too harsh, but because the mind has not learned how to dwell in the present moment? The Buddha taught that all suffering arises from the mind. When the mind is restless, even lying on a soft pillow, the heart remains uneasy. When the mind is clear, even resting one's head on a stone slab, one can find peace. Just as a lake stirred by the wind will have murky waters that can no longer reflect the moonlight. But when the wind stops, the lake becomes still, and the moon reappears in its fullness. So too with our minds. When we stop resisting, stop contending, stop clinging to things beyond our control, peace will naturally return. In this life, no one can avoid suffering. Some suffer from illness, some from emotional distress, some from unhealed wounds of the heart. But the important thing is not how to end suffering, but how to learn to see suffering with eyes of understanding. When we understand that all things are impermanent, we will lessen blaming, lessen clinging. Suffering will also pass like rain, leaving behind only clean earth and the scent of fresh soil. Only when the mind allows itself to stop does suffering have a place to dissipate. Try to let go of all worries in your head and let your breath bring you back to the present. Each exhalation is a letting go. Each inhalation is a reception of peace. This breath is a bridge connecting body and mind between the noisy human world and the quiet realm within yourself. When you inhale, smile gently. When you exhale, let all burdens go with it. No need to strive, no need to wish, just listen. Right now, you are living, breathing, existing in a complete moment that nothing can take away. Happiness is not when we have a lot, but when we know when to stop. To know when to stop and listen to your inner voice, to realize that amidst life's hustle and bustle, there is still a quiet place within, a place that is untouched by time, unmoved by external circumstances. You only need to return to find it. Human life is short. However long the night, dawn will break. But if, during the dark night, the mind finds rest, then that is already dawn. Tonight, let your mind rest in this way. Don't try to sleep. Just dwell in stillness. Sleep will come like a flower blooming when the sky is calm and the wind is gentle, softly and naturally. And in the moment, you realize that merely breathing, merely living in the present is enough. That is when you are touching true happiness. The kind of happiness that needs no external search, because it already resides in every breath, in every quiet beat of your soul. If tonight you toss and turn, listening to the wind outside the eaves, gently rustling the leaves, you'll feel as if everything around you is constantly moving, changing every moment. The sound of the wind is never the same. The scent of the night never repeats. Even your breath, each inhale and exhale, is never the old breath. Yet, throughout life, humans cling tightly to things of the past, to people who have left, to old memories. We suffer because we forget that life is inherently impermanent. Nothing lasts forever. All pain, all worries will eventually pass, like a dewdrop sparkling in the early morning sun. But when the sun rises, it dissipates without a trace. Each person's life is also like that dewdrop, beautiful, short, fragile, and infinitely precious. The Buddha once taught that everything in life arises from causes and conditions. When conditions meet, things gather. When conditions disperse, things scatter. This saying seems simple, but if we contemplate it deeply, we will find it contains the entire truth of life. We meet each other due to converging conditions. When conditions end, no matter how much we wish to hold on, everything disperses. But because we refuse to see life through the eyes of impermanence, we cling, we fear loss, we blame. And from that, suffering arises. Some lose loved ones and grieve for a lifetime. Some lose wealth and spend their days steeped in regret. Some lose love and their souls can never open up again. But if we understand that nothing truly disappears, it merely transforms into another form, then our hearts will lighten. Death is not an end, but a continuation of conditions. Dissolution is not a loss, but a return to the natural cycle of all phenomena. In a rural village in the Mekong Delta, there lived an old woman named Batu. She was over 70, living alone in a small house by the river, where the sound of the waves lapping the shore day and night was like a lullaby from heaven and earth. Her husband had passed away more than 10 years ago, but she still kept the old mat. They used to lie on it together every night. She would still spread out that mat, even though it was worn and torn, with holes in some places and threads exposed in others. For her, the mat was not just a place to sleep, but a memento of a lifetime of attachment, the last lingering warmth of her deceased husband. Many people advised her to replace it with a new, clean mat. But she would just shake her head and say, "If I replace the mat, I'm afraid I'll forget his scent." Then, one day, there was a heavy rain, and her roof leaked badly. Water dripped from the roof onto the old mat, causing it to fall apart in pieces. When she discovered the mat was no longer intact, she sat there looking at the frayed threads and burst into tears. Her tears mixed with the rainwater, soaking her frail hands. She cried not only because the mat was ruined, but because she felt as if she had just lost a part of her life's memories. But then, amidst those tears, an idea suddenly flashed in her mind. She remembered the words of the monk from the nearby pagoda, who once said, "People come and go. Only love remains in the heart." She sat in silence for a long time. Then she looked out at the eaves, where the rain was gently subsiding, each drop rolling down a banana leaf and then falling to the ground, disappearing without a trace. Suddenly, her heart felt strangely peaceful. She understood that, like those raindrops, everything has a time to come and a time to go. No one can hold on to anything forever. And perhaps her husband wouldn't want her to grieve like this forever. If the mat was broken, she would replace it with a new one, but the love would still be there, in her heart, in every breath, in every evening. She would sit on the porch, watching the river flow. From that day on, Batu replaced her mat. The first night she lay on the new mat, she no longer cried. She closed her eyes and smiled, whispering, as if to her late husband, "My dear, I understand now. Life is impermanent, but love never dies." Batu's story seems simple, but it contains a profound lesson. Humans often suffer because they refuse to accept the truth that everything changes. We cling tightly to the past, fearing loss, fearing forgetting, fearing loneliness, unaware that this very clinging makes our hearts heavy. When we learn to accept, our hearts lighten. When we learn to let go, we find peace. Life is like a river. Water flows on and never returns, but new water continuously and endlessly arrives. Life is also like that. What is lost is to make way for the new to be born. Only through suffering can we understand what happiness is. Only through separation can we cherish moments of reunion. Only through long nights can we appreciate the morning light. My dear friend, if there is something in your heart that you cannot let go of, try sitting down and taking a deep breath. Let your mind settle with each breath. As you inhale, be aware that you are alive. As you exhale, let all sorrow dissipate with it. This is the simplest way to practice letting go, to live fully in impermanence without fear, because impermanence is not something to be feared, but truly a miracle of life. If everything were not impermanent, flowers would not bloom, rain would not fall, babies would not grow, and the wounds in your heart would never heal. Thanks to impermanence, suffering eventually ends. Thanks to impermanence, we can start anew, love again, and live a peaceful life. There's a small exercise you can do right now. Before going to sleep, sit up straight, close your eyes, and relax your whole body. Imagine you are sitting by a riverbank, the water flowing gently, the wind blowing softly. Let your thoughts drift away like fallen leaves on the current. When a sad thought appears, don't chase it away, but don't hold on to it either. Just smile and say in your mind, "I know you are present. Now let it go." Repeat this a few times, and you will feel your mind gradually settle. The heavy feeling in your chest will dissipate, leaving only a gentle stillness, like moonlight reflecting on water. When the mind is still, sleep will come naturally, like a blooming flower. When the day breaks, life is impermanent. But when we understand impermanence, we will no longer fear loss, because we know that everything has its causes and conditions. People who come are causes. People who leave signify conditions have ended. The disintegration of things is inevitable, but love, compassion, and the good deeds we sow will remain like seeds sprouting in our consciousness, waiting to bloom one day. Therefore, do not grieve over loss, nor fear change. Live gently, be content, and dwell in the present. When our mind is at peace, however impermanent life may be, it transforms into serenity. Do you see? After every rain, there will be a sunrise. Dewdrops dissipate, but the sun still rises brilliantly. Petals wither, but their fragrance still lingers in the wind. People leave, but love remains in the hearts of those who stay. Impermanence takes nothing away. It only helps us recognize the value of what we have. So tonight, when you close your eyes, let all worries gradually dissolve with your breath. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't fear what has been lost. Just feel the life flowing within you, warm and miraculous. Then you will see that suffering also passes like rain. Just a ray of sunshine in your heart is enough to illuminate your entire life. And when you truly understand that impermanence is the nature of all phenomena, that nothing lasts forever, that is when you are truly free. Free from attachment, from fear, from suffering. Then your sleep will no longer be an escape from anxiety, but a peaceful return to yourself. Like Batu, lying peacefully on her new mat, smiling at the river breeze, at memories, and at impermanence itself. Life may be short, but when the heart is at peace, every night becomes a peaceful night. There are nights when we lie awake, unable to sleep, with incessant voices echoing in our heads. Voices of unfinished tasks, voices of unresolved worries, voices of memories that still hurt. The more we try to forget, the clearer they become. It's like holding a hot cup of water. The tighter we grip, the more our hands burn. But if we know to put it down, the pain immediately dissipates. Life is the same. Much of the suffering we endure does not necessarily come from circumstances, but from clinging to too many things that should be let go. We hold on to wounds, old things, and even people who no longer wish to be in our lives. Then we get tired. We lose sleep. We feel our hearts heavy as stone. That is when our mind longs for the word, let go. The Buddha once taught that letting go is not weakness, but wisdom. When we let go, our heart lightens. When our heart lightens, our mind is at peace. Yet, people are accustomed to clinging, so when they hear the words, let go, everyone thinks of loss. But in reality, letting go is not discarding, much less escaping. Letting go is understanding that some things, whether we want them to or not, cannot be held onto. It is realizing that everything has its time. There is coming, there is going, there is blooming, there is withering. If we keep trying to hold on to a withered flower, we will have no hands free to welcome the new flower, waiting to bloom. When we understand this, letting go is no longer difficult, but a door that leads us to peace. In a small pagoda nestled halfway up a mountain, there lived an old monk named Hien Tu. He often taught his disciples that people suffer not because life is too harsh, but because the mind constantly wants to hold on to things that no longer belong to it. One day, a man named Min came to the pagoda. He was a wealthy, successful merchant with a big house, beautiful cars, and many servants. But his face was always tense. Every night, he would toss and turn, unable to sleep until nearly morning. As he entered the temple courtyard, he saw the fallen leaves and heard the wind whistling through the tiled roof, and suddenly felt a strange sensation in his heart. It had been years since he had a morning undisturbed by his phone, work, and money. Mr. Min clasped his hands and gently asked, "Venerable Master, I have everything people dream of, but why is my heart not at peace? Every day I live as if in a strong wind. The more I hold on, the more everything slips through my fingers. I fear losing money, power, and even loved ones, but the more I fear, the more I lose sleep, and my head feels like it's about to explode." The monk smiled and didn't answer immediately. He poured a cup of tea, but instead of offering it to Mr. Min to drink, he went into his room and brought out a glass cup filled with hot water, then handed it to him. Mr. Min took it, and after just a few seconds, the heat transferred to his palm, making him wince. He wanted to let go, but tried to hold on, as if afraid of spilling the water. The monk looked at him and gently said, "If you keep holding on tightly, the water will burn you. Only when you let go will you be at peace." Mr. Min started. He quickly placed the cup of water on the table, the warmth still lingering on his skin. The monk asked, "Does it hurt?" He nodded. The monk continued, "Your life is the same. For years you've been clinging to things that burn you without knowing when to put them down. You cling to power, fame, money, and even what others say about you. Every time someone insults you, you hold on to it. Every time someone betrays you, you hold on to it. Every time you lose money, you hold on to the feeling of regret. The more you hold on, the hotter and more painful your heart becomes. Put it down, and you will immediately feel lighter." Mr. Min silently bowed his head. He felt the master's words, like drops of cool nectar falling into his heart, spreading everywhere. All these years, he had never thought that he himself was the one causing his own suffering. He thought it was due to work pressure, betrayal by others, or difficult times. But now he understood that suffering does not come from outside, but from stubborn clinging within the mind. He looked out into the garden and saw the leaves flying carelessly in the gentle breeze, then suddenly realized that he had lived like a dry branch, trying to hold on to leaves during the season of falling leaves. The monk poured more tea and spoke slowly. Letting go is not defeat, but victory over oneself. When you let go, you lose nothing. You only return to life what never truly belonged to you. Just as when you put the cup of water down, you don't lose the water, you only save your hands. The hardest thing in human life is not holding on, but daring to let go. Because holding on comes from fear, and letting go comes from understanding. From that day on, Mr. Min began to change. He learned to listen, to breathe, to put work down after 8 p.m., to sit quietly with his breath. At first, his mind was still agitated. Numbers, contracts, and plans still swirled in his head. But each time, he remembered the monk's hot cup of water and smiled gently. He told himself, "Put it down." And gradually, he was able to sleep. His sleep was no longer a battle with thoughts, but a return to peace. My dear friend, have you ever wondered why you suffer, even though no one has truly hurt you? Why are you tired, even though your body is not sick? Because your mind is holding too many hot cups of water. Perhaps it's a word that hurt you, a memory that hasn't faded, a relationship that ended, or simply anxiety about the future. Every time we hold on, we are pouring more boiling water onto our hands. Letting go does not mean forgetting, but accepting. It is knowing that everything has its cause. Everything is the fruit of past actions. Perhaps that experience came to teach us to love more, to empathize more, to step back so as not to hurt others. When we understand karma, we will no longer blame life or people, but quietly learn to live virtuously and let go of what is unnecessary. There's a small exercise you can try right now. Sit very still, close your eyes, place both hands on your chest, relax your shoulders, relax your heart. Inhale deeply, feeling the cool, fresh air enter your lungs. Exhale very slowly, imagining you are releasing worries, resentments, and regrets. Do this 3 times, very slowly, very gently. Each breath is a time you put down a hot cup of water. Inhale a smile, exhale a letting go. If you do this regularly, you will find your mind gradually clears, your body relaxes, and sleep comes as easily as a gentle breeze passing over a field. When we know how to let go, we open the door to peace. Because when the mind is no longer attached, life becomes as clear as a still lake. No longer fearful, no longer envious, no longer worried about gain or loss. What comes, we welcome. What goes, we bid farewell. That is true freedom. Some say letting go is a loss. But in reality, letting go is reclaiming yourself. Because in every moment we lessen our burdens, we are returning closer to our Buddha nature, which is inherently peaceful and pure within us. Letting go does not mean abandoning life, but living amidst life without being dragged along by it. It is working without being dominated by fame and profit. It is loving without binding. It is living wholeheartedly, but without clinging. When you work with a pure mind, everything will naturally go smoothly. When you speak kind words, others will feel the peace within you. When you face loss with understanding, the pain will also dissipate. Like that hot cup of water, only when put down can the hand heal. Remember that no one can sleep peacefully in a room full of wind. The mind is the same. If it is still full of worries, full of stubborn clinging, how can it find peace? Letting go is closing the door on those turbulent winds, to let the mind rest, to let the heart breathe. When we let go, sleep comes, the body is healthy, the mind is at peace, and one day, when you look back, you will smile, realizing that what once caused you pain actually taught you how to live more peacefully. So tonight, when you lie down, don't try to suppress thoughts, and don't force yourself to forget. Just breathe. Just know that what is present will also pass. Put down all fears, like putting down the hot cup of water. Let your heart return to being like a still surface of water under the moonlight. Then you will see that letting go is the shortest path to peace. And in that stillness, sleep will come gently, like the fragrance of a lotus blooming in the night. There are nights when we lie still in the dark, hearing the clock tick-tock, but our hearts still refuse to settle. The wind outside the eaves gently rustles the leaves. The rain taps lightly on the tin roof. They're passing, yet only our mind clings. Many people can't sleep not because their body is tired or their bed is hard, but because there is still something in their mind that refuses to close. An old memory, an ancient wound, or a departed loved one who still lingers in their heart. It's like a still lake where we keep throwing pebbles, causing endless ripples to spread. Some carry memories of the past for decades, like an unnamed burden pressing on their shoulders. They think that holding on is to remember, to cherish, but in reality, they are binding themselves. Just as an old garment that we keep wearing will only feel tight and as tattered, while life is inviting us to put on a new garment of the present. The Buddha once taught, "The past cannot be grasped. The future has not yet arrived. Only the present moment is real." But humans have a habit of living in what has been lost. We turn back to the past like a lost bird to its nest, endlessly searching for a dried branch. And the more we search, the more we hurt, the more we suffer, the more we lose sleep. Some say they are afraid to forget. They fear that if they let go, the person they love will disappear forever. But in fact, love does not reside in memory, but in the living heart. When we know how to be at peace, how to smile, how to cherish the present, then true love is present. Like the morning sun filtering through the leaves, gentle yet deeply permeating. When we live in the present, those who have departed also find peace in their own realm. Holding on to sadness forever does not bring anyone back to life. It only prevents those who remain from finding peace. Phat Phap Lin. Ung recalls a woman named Lan, who lived in a small house in a quiet alley. Ms. Lan lost her husband when she was very young. Her daughter was only 8 at the time. For several years, every night she would take out their wedding photo and look at it. In that photo, she and her husband smiled radiantly together, but in real life, that smile had become a memory. Each time she looked at the photo, she felt a lump in her throat, and tears fell before she could wipe them away. She didn't dare put the photo away, fearing it would be a betrayal, a forgetting of the person who had shared so many years with her. Every night before bed, she would softly say, "Honey, I miss you." But the more she missed him, the less she slept. She would toss and turn through the long nights, listening to the wind blowing through the areca trees, hearing her heart silently call out the name of someone long gone. Then, one night, her small daughter asked, "Mommy, why are you always so sad?" Her innocent question was like a wake-up call. She looked into her daughter's clear eyes and saw life, the present, and all that she was neglecting. She suddenly realized that her deceased husband would not want to see his wife and child suffer indefinitely. They didn't need tears, but peace. The next day, Ms. Lan woke early, took the wedding photo, wiped away the dust, placed it on the altar, and clasped her hands in prayer. "Rest in peace, my dear. I will learn to live peacefully, so you can also be at ease." From that day on, she slept better. Every evening, instead of looking at the photo, she watched her daughter sleep, listened to her steady breathing, and felt her heart settle like a lake when the wind stops blowing. She understood that the past had passed, but love had not been lost. It had simply transformed into a form of peace, quiet and enduring. Everyone in life has a drawer in their heart, which might contain old photos, a small gift, or a few unsent letters. But if we keep opening that drawer every night, gazing endlessly at what has passed, how can there be room for peaceful sleep? Sometimes closing the drawer is not about forgetting, but allowing memories to rest. Only when we put the past in its proper place can we live fully in the present. Those who study Buddhism understand that everything arises from causes and conditions. When conditions end, everything disperses. Like a dewdrop on a blade of grass, when the sun rises, it dissipates, not by disappearing, but by returning to the clouds and sky. Similarly, the people we love, the memories that once made us happy or sad, when they pass, they do not end, but return to the cycle of karma and conditions. When we understand this, we no longer cling. Letting go of the past does not mean denial, but acceptance. Accepting that everything so that once was is precious, but there also comes a time to release it so the heart can be free. Try sitting quietly in your room. Turn off the lights, relax your shoulders. Take a deep breath, then exhale slowly. Feel your breath flowing in and out like a small stream gurgling in the deep forest night. Each breath is a step back to yourself. Breathing in, I know I am alive. Breathing out, I smile at the present. As your breath slows, your mind also settles. All the noises of the world seem to vanish, leaving only the sound of your heartbeat and the presence of this moment. In that stillness, you can whisper to yourself, I have been through it. Now it's time to rest. This simple sentence, if spoken with full acceptance, can open a door to peace in your heart. The Buddha once said that letting go is the path to liberation. No one can be at peace if they cling to what has been lost. What we call the past, in reality, only remains in memory. If that memory is clung to, it becomes a burden. But if released, it becomes wisdom, because it is precisely the things we have experienced, whether sad or happy, that teach us how to love truly. When we understand that everything is impermanent, we will not blame, not resent, not regret. We will only smile and be grateful. Someone once asked, how can I forget painful things? The monk replied, no need to forget, just don't touch them. This means we can acknowledge their presence, but not stir them up, not nurture them further. Like a still lake, stop throwing pebbles, and it will naturally become clear. Like a wound, stop scratching it, and it will naturally heal. The human mind is the same. When it stops hurting itself, it will naturally recover. To sleep easily, not only does the body need to relax, but the mind also needs to let go. If every night before bed, we spend a few minutes listening to our breath, forgiving ourselves and others, then sleep will come as gently as incense smoke. Try closing your eyes and imagining you are sitting by a peaceful river. That river is your mind. The falling leaves are old memories. Instead of picking them up, you just watch them drift by. One leaf goes, another comes. But the water still flows, clear and quiet. When we learn to see the past like drifting leaves, our hearts will no longer be troubled. When people know when to stop, to smile, to forgive what has passed, then peace comes naturally. Sleep is no longer difficult. We don't need to seek sleep. We just need to surrender ourselves to the present. And sleep will find us. Every night, close your eyes, place your hands on your chest, and softly say, "Thank you for what has passed. I surrender." Then inhale deeply. Exhale, releasing all heaviness. Believe that in that very moment, your soul is being cleansed. The echoes of the past will gradually dissipate, leaving only the stillness of a peaceful heart. When Ms. Lan placed the photo on the altar, her heart felt light, as if she had just stepped through a doorway. She knew that from now on, she would no longer live in the past. That night, she slept soundly, listening to the rain falling outside the eaves, and it felt like her husband's voice calling to her from a distant realm. But instead of crying, she smiled. That smile was not from forgetting, but from understanding. Understanding that true love never dies. It only transforms from tears into peace. A person who knows how to let go of the past is opening the door to peace for themselves. But anyone who clings to old pain is like someone holding a hot coal, only burning their own hand. Learn to put it down gently, like placing a fallen petal. Then inhale deeply and exhale, letting your heart drift with your breath. Then you will see that the night is no longer long, and sleep will come like a gentle, kind friend, sitting beside you, smiling softly in the late-night moonlight. In this life, there are nights when we can't sleep, not because our bodies ache, but because there are unhealed wounds in our hearts. These are angers, hurts, unspoken words, memories that make us feel a lump in our chest every time we recall them. Some lie awake in the deep night, hearing the rain fall, and their tears fall with it. Because deep down, there's still someone who makes them uneasy. Some tell themselves they have forgotten, but just one word, one glance, one image can bring back all the old resentments like an old dust storm. The more we try to forget, the heavier our hearts become. The more we try to prove we no longer hate, the more we realize we still cannot be at peace. The Buddha once taught that hatred cannot be dispelled by hatred. Only love can dispel hatred. These teachings are like a cool stream flowing through the arid desert of the human heart. However, truly understanding and practicing this is not easy for everyone, because anger is an instinct, while love is wisdom. When we are hurt, the natural reaction is to want to retaliate. But the more we retaliate, the more we hurt. The tighter we cling to resentment, the more we are like someone holding a hot coal, only burning ourselves. Letting go of resentment is not weakness, but courage. Forgiveness is not forgetting, but choosing peace for our minds. Someone once asked, "How can I forgive the person who made me suffer?" A monk's answer was, "You forgive not because they deserve it, but because you need to be at peace." Forgiveness is not for the benefit of others, but for us to sleep peacefully. It's like a house that has been closed for many years, covered in dust. If you don't open the windows, how can light enter? Our minds are the same. If we don't open our hearts, the light of peace will never reach us. In a small village by the river, there lived two neighbors named Mr. Ba and Mrs. Sao. They used to be close friends, but because of a fence, a plot of land with an unclear boundary, a quarrel arose. Initially, it was just words back and forth. Then it turned into anger, then enmity. Every time they passed each other's houses, they would turn their faces away. The villagers advised them repeatedly, but to no avail. The disputed land between their two houses remained empty, no one daring to plant anything for fear of another quarrel. Months turned into years. Mr. Ba grew old and frail, and Mrs. Sao was no longer as spry as before. But the anger remained. Then one day, Mrs. Sao fell ill, a silent illness that left her exhausted. Hearing the news, Mr. Ba, despite his anger, quietly cooked a pot of porridge and brought it over. He stood peeking out from behind the gate, his hands trembling. After a long while, he gently knocked on the door and softly called, "Mrs. Sao, I've brought you some porridge." The door creaked open. Mrs. Sao looked at him, her eyes filled with both surprise and emotion. Mr. Ba just said, "Eat a little to regain your strength and get well." Mrs. Sao looked at the steaming pot of porridge, and tears streamed down her face. She took his trembling hand and said, "The earth itself changes. Why do we keep being angry with each other?" In that moment, it was as if a gentle breeze swept through, carrying away years of heaviness. Mr. Ba smiled kindly. "Yes, I'm tired too. What joy is there in constant anger?" The two old people sat on the porch, listening to the wind blowing through the bamboo grove, their hearts feeling cleansed. The plot of land between their two houses, from that day on, grew small, beautiful wildflowers that no one had planted. But it seemed that heaven and earth also understood that when human hearts reconcile, everything can bloom. This small story leaves a big lesson. When we can let go of resentment and hold on to love, the world around us immediately changes. Most of the suffering in life does not come from external circumstances, but from what we cling to in our hearts. Some people suffer from insomnia, not because of physical pain, but because their minds have not been forgiven. They resent their loved ones, their friends, the things that once hurt them. But when we resent someone, we are the first to suffer. When we forgive, we are actually opening the door for ourselves to walk out of a dark room. The Buddha taught that within every human being are two streams. One is the murky water of resentment. The other is the clear water of compassion. When we nurture resentment, the murky water rises, clouding our minds. When we nurture love, the clear water flows out, washing away all suffering. Therefore, to find peace, we must choose the clear stream. Anger is like a fire. It can burn down a forest of good deeds that we have cultivated for years. But love, even as small as a candle flame, can illuminate an entire long night. Letting go of resentment and holding on to love is not easy, but it is the only path for the mind to heal. Whenever you feel angry at someone, try to sit still, take a deep breath, and then exhale slowly. In that breath, whisper, "I know I am angry, but I choose peace." Then look at that person in your mind, without blaming, without hating, just smiling. It might be difficult at first, but if you do it every day, your heart will gradually soften, like a stone worn smooth by prolonged rain. When the mind has softened, sleep will come easily. A small exercise for those suffering from insomnia due to resentment. Before going to bed, sit still. Place your hand on your chest and listen to your heartbeat. Imagine a clear, cool stream flowing through your heart, washing away all resentment. Inhale deeply, exhale, and softly say, I forgive. I choose love. Do 3 such breaths, then close your eyes and let your breath guide you into sleep. The more you forgive, the faster sleep will come. And tomorrow morning, when you wake up, you will feel as light as a white cloud. Forgiving does not make us smaller. It helps us become greater. The one who knows how to let go is strong. The one who knows how to love is enlightened. Remember that resentment is like a poisonous wind, while love is the fragrance of a lotus. If we let the poisonous wind blow endlessly, the tree in our heart will wither. But if we water it with love, it will sprout and bloom. A person who lives with love will sleep peacefully, eat well, and speak gently. A person who lives with resentment will suffer heart pain, insomnia, and a confused mind. All of this comes from the mind. In Buddhist teachings, compassion is not just loving others, but also loving oneself. When we forgive, we are embracing the painful part of ourselves and saying, enough, stop suffering. That is how we heal ourselves. Every wound truly heals only when we stop touching it. Forgiveness is stopping touching the wound with blame. Let it close naturally, like a lake gradually becoming still after a storm. Sometimes, if we listen very carefully in the night, we can hear our inner voice. That voice gently says, let go. Listen to it. Let resentments drift away with the night wind. Let love remain, light as morning dew on a leaf. For when there is love in the heart, life remains vibrant. But when the heart is only full of resentment, no matter how beautiful the sky, we still see darkness. Someone once recounted that after many years of resenting her mother, she decided to write a letter of forgiveness. Not to send it, but just to express everything. As she wrote, she cried. After writing, she was able to sleep. She said that it turned out forgiveness was not for her mother, but for herself. That statement is simple, yet profound. We tend to think that forgiveness is for others, but in reality, it is for our own freedom. Letting go of resentment and holding on to love is the door to peace. When the heart no longer harbors hatred, the night will no longer be long. We will sleep in serenity like a child, for there is nothing left to contend with, to remember, to blame. Whatever is incomplete, let us leave it for another lifetime with a smile. Whatever is unsaid, let us send it on the night wind with a blessing. When the heart is at peace, sleep will find us, like an old friend returning after many years of separation. Remember the Buddha's teaching. All hatred dissolves when love arises in the heart. Tonight, before sleeping, if there's still someone in your heart who makes you uneasy, gently say, I love that person, because they also suffer. Then exhale and smile. In that very moment, hatred dissolves, love arises, and the mind is at peace. That is the most miraculous healing medicine, one that no physician other than ourselves can provide. Life is short. What is the point of resentment? Those who pass through our lives, whether to love or to teach are all part of karma and conditions. Some come to teach us to love, some to teach us to let go. When we understand this, our hearts will be tolerant and light. We will be grateful even to those who once hurt us, for through them we learned the lesson of love. Tonight, let all resentment dissipate with the sound of the wind. Let love remain, quiet as the moon hanging above the areca trees. When we lie down, close our eyes. Let us whisper, "Thank you, life. Thank you, people. Thank you, myself." Our breath will slow, our minds will soften, and sleep will come gently, like a wisp of incense. Smoke in a temple at dusk. And in that sleep, we will find ourselves smiling. For finally, we have learned how to let go of resentment and hold on to love. Have you ever wondered why, even though you have everything in your hands, you still feel uneasy, still find it hard to sleep, still feel as if something is missing? Some people chase after fame and fortune in their entire lives, accumulating wealth. But the more they have, the more uneasy they become. Others, despite having only a humble roof over their heads and a simple meal, find their hearts tranquil and sleep soundly at night. The difference does not lie in the amount of money, but in whether the mind knows contentment. Contentment is the root of peace, the source of peaceful sleep that all of us are seeking. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha taught that to be content is always enough. To be discontent is never enough. Humans suffer not because they lack, but because they don't know when to stop. Greed is like a bottomless well. No matter how much is poured in, it never fills. A person who is not content will always run, always chase, always seek something new, forgetting that happiness is actually right where they stand. Perhaps that is why so many people lie awake at night, calculating for tomorrow, fearing loss, fearing scarcity, fearing others are better than them. That mind is like waves offshore, constantly rising and crashing against the shore, never finding peace. The Buddha taught that when people know contentment, that is, when they feel they have enough in their hearts, even if life is full of challenges, they still feel joy. A person who knows contentment will not be swayed by external circumstances. They will not feel envy when they see others succeeding. They will not feel sadness when they feel they are lacking, because they understand that each person has their own karma and blessings. And most importantly, they maintain a peaceful mind in all circumstances. Like a lotus flower, though it grows in mud, it still emits a fragrant scent, not losing its pure quality due to its surroundings. There's a small story about Mrs. Nam, who sold bananas at the village market. Every morning, she would push her banana cart to the market before dawn, when the mist was still thick. Ripe, fragrant yellow bananas were neatly arranged on her old bamboo tray. She sold individual bunches to early morning shoppers, smiling kindly as she did so. At the end of the day, she would count her money, just enough to buy rice, some vegetables, and a little sugar for her small grandchild. On rainy days, she would huddle under the eaves, gently wiping raindrops from her bananas, silently praying for the rain to stop soon. Someone kindly said to her, "Mrs. Nam, why don't you hire more people, sell more to earn extra money, build a bigger house, or buy a motorbike?" She smiled gently, her eyes distant. "I have enough. Having food, hearing my grandchild laugh, having a roof over my head to shield from the sun and rain, That makes me happy. What's the point of getting richer when my stomach is full and my heart is at peace? Mrs. Nam's simple words were a great lesson for many. Some people, despite having billions in their hands, lie awake, feeling uneasy, fearing loss, fearing they don't have enough. While Mrs. Nam, with a few bunches of bananas and a few coins, sleeps peacefully to the sound of crickets chirping in the fields. She may be poor in material wealth, but rich in spirit. That richness is not measured by money, but by tranquility, by a kind smile, by a peaceful night's sleep, without calculations. In Buddhist teachings, contentment does not mean resignation or accepting poverty. Contentment is understanding that we currently have causes and conditions that align with our blessings. Every event, everything we have or don't have, is due to karma. If we sow good deeds, have a kind heart, and live righteously, then even if we have little today, tomorrow we will have enough in another way. But if greed doesn't stop, the more we want, the easier it is to lose. The more we worry, the less peace we find, and the more restless our mind becomes, the further sleep will be. When the heart is at peace, sleep comes naturally. Many people say they have trouble sleeping because of worries, because they fear they won't be on time tomorrow, fear their children don't have enough, fear life isn't stable. But ask yourself, has anyone truly felt enough without learning to stop? The Buddha taught that if you want peace, you must learn contentment. If you want to sleep soundly, you must know how to let go. When the mind no longer demands, the body can rest. When the heart no longer has endless desires, sleep will return as gently as a breath. If tonight you lie down and feel uneasy, try slowing your breath, closing your eyes, and thinking, I have enough. Think about your home, about your loved ones who are safe, about a warm meal with fragrant steam. Be grateful that you are still breathing, still alive, still able to hear the rain fall, still able to see the morning light. When gratitude arises, greedy thoughts will dissipate. When contentment appears, suffering has no place to cling. Let your mind return to the present. Sit still or lie still. Listen to the wind blowing outside. Listen to your own heartbeat. Each beat is a miracle. Each breath in and out is a precious gift. Breathing in, we know we are alive. Breathing out, we smile at ourselves. When you can smile at your own presence, that is when you are content, living fully in this moment. Contentment not only helps us sleep peacefully, but also helps us live peacefully. A person who knows contentment does not compare, does not contend, does not resent. When they see others succeed, they offer blessings. When they find themselves lacking, they strive without resentment, because they understand that a peaceful heart is the foundation of blessings. A content mind is a blessed mind. A person who knows contentment, even if they only eat plain rice and vegetables, finds it delicious. Even if they sleep on a bamboo bed, they feel warm. But a person who is not content, even in a grand palace, feels cold. Even if they eat delicacies, they find them bland. Because happiness is not found in external objects, but in the mind within. If you are tired, Don't seek anything more. Just stop and realize that you already have too much. You have a healthy body, loved ones by your side, a home for shelter, an opportunity to hear the Dharma, to understand life, to cultivate your mind. So many people wish for these things, but don't have them. When we learn to see blessings in ordinary things, we are content. And when we are content, we find peace. That night, we will sleep soundly, because our heart has no room for worries. Life is inherently a flowing river. A person who knows contentment will be like a lotus, drifting gently in the current, unattached. A person who is not content will be like a branch stirring shallow water, constantly agitated by their own ambitions. The Buddha taught that a person who knows contentment will have two types of happiness: happiness of the body and happiness of the mind. A body with fewer ailments, a mind with fewer worries, a life that is light. For a person who is not content, it is the opposite: a tired body, a worried mind, a heavy life. Sometimes, just by wanting one less thing, we gain a measure of peace. By demanding one less thing, we gain a measure of peaceful sleep. As night falls, the moonlight outside the window still shines, the wind still blows, the scent of flowers still gently permeates the air. The universe still operates, time still flows. Whether we worry or not, whether we have or not, everything still follows its course. Contentment is accepting this, is harmonizing with this flow. No resistance, no complaints, no seeking. When you live in this way, every sleep becomes a meditation, every breath a living scripture. Close your eyes. Listen to your inner voice. If you find anything you still cannot let go of, smile and softly say, "I have enough. Enough love, enough lessons, enough good karma. Everything comes and goes, like clouds drifting over a mountain peak. I just need to remain with the present, with gratitude, with a contented mind. That is enough." And you will find that when your heart is content, your body will be at peace, and sleep will come gently like a breeze, with no resentment, no longing, no fear. Only the stillness in your mind, like a tranquil lake reflecting the full moon. At that moment, even if life changes, you will remain at peace. Even if the night is long, you will still sleep soundly, because within you there is the light of contentment, a lamp that never goes out. There are long nights when the sound of cars on the street gradually fades, when the whole city sinks into quiet darkness, and we lie there, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling, listening to the clock tick, listening to our own breath. It's not because we aren't sleepy, but because our hearts are still not at peace. Amidst the quiet stretches of night, what makes people toss and turn is not noise, but the small voices in their souls. Voices of regret, voices of resentment, voices of things left unsaid, undone, unforgiven. The quiet night is when people confront themselves most honestly. There's no one left to blame, no one to compare themselves to, only themselves, facing the incomplete aspects of their lives. The Buddha once taught that one who turns inward to examine oneself is wise, because in life, everyone readily sees the faults of others, but finds it difficult to recognize their own mistakes. We often look outward to to find the cause of suffering, but rarely turn inward to see our minds clinging, resenting, or unable to let go. When we resent someone, in reality, we are the first to suffer. When we blame life, in reality, our mind is imprisoning itself in a dark room. Night is the time when the Buddha advised practitioners to calm their minds and contemplate, because at that time, all the noise of life temporarily subsides and the mind can more easily examine itself. Mr. Fuch, a retired father, lived in a small house on an old street. Every evening, he had a habit of lighting a lamp on his porch. He said the light helped passers-by avoid stumbling and helped him feel warm in the deep night. But one evening, the power went out. The entire neighborhood plunged into darkness. He sat quietly on the porch, listening to the insects, the wind blowing through the leaves. In that darkness, he suddenly wondered if he had ever truly examined himself. His whole life, he had worried about others, taught his children, taught his students. But had he ever sat quietly and looked into his own heart? That question resonated gently like a breeze, but stirred his heart. He recalled his younger years, moments of impatience that hurt loved ones, times he remained silent when he should have spoken words of love. He used to believe he was right, that others misunderstood him. But now, in the quiet night, with no other voices intruding, he suddenly realized that perhaps the fault wasn't just with others. Perhaps he himself hadn't listened enough, hadn't been compassionate enough. The lamp on his porch had once illuminated the path for many, but his own heart had not been enlightened. Mr. Fuch's story is the story of many of us. We are so busy that we forget to look at ourselves. We are good at analyzing the faults of others, but clumsy when confronting our own. When someone makes us sad, we blame them. When work doesn't go smoothly, we blame circumstances. When life doesn't go as we wish, we blame fate. But we forget that everything arises from the mind. Causes and conditions do not spontaneously arise or cease. All suffering and joy are the results of the seeds we have sown in the past, whether in the distant past or just moments ago today. In Buddhism, self-reflection is not to blame oneself, but to understand oneself. Only when we understand can we let go. Many people can't sleep because they keep replaying images in their minds, past events that cannot be changed. But if tonight you can sit quietly and softly ask, how did I live today? Did I make anyone sad? Have I loved myself enough? Just this much, and your mind will begin to heal. Try breathing very slowly, then close your eyes. As you inhale, clearly hear your heartbeat. As you exhale, feel the warmth spreading throughout your body. Softly say in your heart, I release my mistakes. I forgive myself. This seemingly simple statement holds great power, because for many years, we easily forgive others, but find it difficult to forgive ourselves. We cling tightly to our mistakes like a burden, as if we must carry it throughout our lives. But the Buddha taught that no one can bathe twice in the same river. Every day we are different. Every breath is an opportunity to renew ourselves. Forgiving oneself is not an excuse, but an acceptance that we are also learning how to live, how to love, how to grow. In the still night, if you hear the wind gently rustling through the crack in the door, consider it a message from heaven and earth. All mistakes can be washed away. The wind still blows, the rain still falls, flowers still bloom. Nothing is held forever unless we refuse to let go. The human mind is the same. Just open a small space and light will flood in. Like the lamp on Mr. Fuchs' porch, once lit, all darkness vanishes. A small exercise before sleep can help you examine your heart. Lie still. Place your hands on your chest. Close your eyes and ask yourself, have I lived mindfully today? Have I spoken kindly to anyone? Or have I unintentionally hurt someone? Don't fear the answers. Simply realizing is the beginning of awakening. Take a deep breath and silently say, I know I am not perfect, but I am learning to be better. When a good thought arises in the mind, the body will find peace. When the heart is forgiving toward itself, sleep will return like a kind friend. Self-reflection is also a way to understand others. When we know we have made mistakes, we become less harsh with others. When we understand our own past weaknesses, we speak more gently to those who are lost. That is the wisdom of one who knows how to look into the mind. The Buddha did not teach us to judge others, but to observe our own minds moment by moment. Because the mind is the root of all phenomena. When the mind is at peace, the body is at peace. When the mind is agitated, life is agitated. When we learn to reflect on ourselves, we return to the root. Night is a gift of life, a still mirror for us to see ourselves most clearly. During the day, we are busy with work, with people, with countless voices. At night, everything becomes silent, as if the universe is dedicating a space for us to reflect, to cleanse the dust of the world. If we know how to utilize this gift, we will no longer fear the night, no longer fear darkness, because in darkness, the inner light truly shines. After that power outage, Mr. Fuchs continued to light his lamp every evening. But now, it was different. The lamp's light not only illuminated his porch, but also shone into his heart. He began to write letters to those he had once resented or misunderstood, to apologize, to thank. He said doing so was not for others to forgive him, but for himself to feel lighter. From then on, he slept more peacefully. Sleep came quickly, his heart at peace like a gentle breeze blowing through his home. Everyone's life has its mistakes, its imperfections. But as long as we know how to reflect on ourselves and learn from these experiences, suffering will transform into wisdom. Forgiving oneself is the first step toward enlightenment. No one is perfect, but everyone can become better each day. Tonight, before you sleep, light the lamp in your heart, not with electricity, but with your breath, with the intention to understand yourself more, to love yourself more. Tell your heart, I am enough. I am grateful. I am at peace. Let your breath guide you into sleep. Outside, the moon still shines, the wind still blows, and within your heart, light is still radiating. A peaceful night is an opportunity to examine the mind, a mirror to see oneself again. When we know how to reflect on ourselves, we are less judgmental of others, less resentful of life. When we understand ourselves, we can love others. And when the heart is enlightened, all darkness vanishes. That night, you will sleep peacefully, not because the world has changed, but because you yourself have changed. There are long nights when people toss and turn, unable to sleep, not because the room is too bright or the cars outside are too loud, but because their hearts haven't extinguished the small flames of worry, resentment, and calculation. When the mind is still full of fear and suspicion, sleep cannot come peacefully. Many people don't know that there is a natural sedative that doesn't come from pills or soothing music, but from their own benevolent hearts. When we live virtuously, our minds will be at peace. When we start with love in our hearts, sleep naturally softens, like moonlight shining through a window. The Buddha once taught that those who do good deeds, even if they haven't seen the results, already find joy in their hearts, like someone walking through fragrant flowers, their scent spreading with the wind. Indeed, when a good thought arises within us, that is when the moonlight of a benevolent heart shines in the deep night. No need to be grand, no need to be profound. Just a good thought, a good deed. A loving heart is enough to illuminate a lifetime. Imagine, in the deep night, just after the rain has stopped, water still clings to the branches, and the full moon gently shines down on a small path. Raindrops sparkle like pearls. In that silent scene, if someone steps onto the path with a light heart, they will surely feel something truly pure, truly peaceful. Just like the benevolent heart within us, it is not noisy or ostentatious. It quietly shines, illuminates, and warms. A person with a benevolent heart is like the moon. They don't need to do much. Their mere presence reduces the coldness of darkness. Wherever such a person goes, others feel the warmth from their heart. In this life, all of us have at some point done wrong, said unkind words, or unintentionally hurt someone. But what makes the difference is not how many times we erred, but whether after each stumble, we know how to return to examine our own minds, to nurture the seed of goodness within our hearts. Many people ask why they do good deeds repeatedly, but still feel suffering, still feel uneasy. That is because their good heart is not yet pure enough, not yet detached enough. They still long for a reward. True benevolence does not hope for anything in return. It is like the full moon in the sky, shining without waiting for anyone to look up. When we do good deeds with a mind that seeks no reward, we have sown a bright seed in our hearts. That seed will sprout into peace, even if life outside is still full of storms. The small story of little Hung can help us understand this more deeply. Hung was just a 5th grade student in a poor rural area. Every morning, he walked to school along a small dirt road. On both sides were bamboo groves and puddles after every rain. Hung's family was not well off. His mother sold sticky rice in the morning, and his father was a distant construction worker. Despite this, Hung was always cheerful, polite, and often helped others. One day, during a heavy rain, Hung used the old umbrella his mother had saved up for a long time to buy. On his way home, he saw an old woman huddled by the roadside, holding a bag of plastic bottles, her clothes soaked, her gray hair matted with rain. Without thinking, Hung walked over and held the umbrella over her. The woman looked at him, her eyes warm and radiant. They walked together for a short distance. Then she stopped, took Hung's hand, and said, "Thank you, grandson. It's cold today, but my heart feels warm. You will meet with good things. For those with a benevolent heart, blessings follow, like a shadow." Hung just smiled, nodded, and continued walking. That evening, as he lay in his small room, listening to the rain patter on the tin roof, Hung suddenly felt a strange warmth in his heart. He didn't understand why. He just knew that he slept unusually soundly that night. Adults often seek sleep with music, medicine, or distant travels. But sometimes, just a small act of kindness is enough to make sleep peaceful. Why? Because when our mind is benevolent, the energy within us is cleansed. Hatred, envy, jealousy, anxiety, all are like rocks blocking the clear stream of the mind. When we do good deeds, it's like gradually removing those rocks. The water of the mind naturally flows clear and cool. When the mind's water is clear, sleep will naturally be peaceful. A person who does good deeds not only saves others, but also saves themselves. The Buddha taught that all sentient beings have Buddha nature, meaning they inherently possess the seeds of goodness and compassion. But due to many worldly interactions, we forget that light. We let worries, anger, and fear cover our minds like clouds covering the moon. The moon is still full and bright. It's just obscured by clouds. Similarly, the goodness in our hearts is still there. We just need to dispel the clouds, and the moon will reappear. Many people at night, lying still in the dark, suddenly feel heavy-hearted. Their hearts constrict and feel uneasy. They think they are lonely, but in reality, it's because they haven't looked at the moonlight in their hearts for a long time. If every night before bed, we just start with a good thought, remember a good deed we once did, or simply send a wish of peace to someone, our minds will gradually brighten. That is the moonlight of a benevolent heart being awakened. Meditating at night is a way to nourish that light. Try sitting or lying in a comfortable position. Close your eyes, gently relax your shoulders, and breathe very slowly. As you inhale, silently say in your mind, "I know I am breathing in." As you exhale, smile gently. "I know I am smiling." The breath is a thread connecting us to the present. When the mind knows how to dwell in the breath, the stream of thoughts will gradually settle. Imagine in your mind there is a bright moon, slowly radiating its gentle light throughout your body. That light is kindness, compassion, love. As that moonlight spreads, you will feel your body gradually lighten, your breath deepen, and a gentle smile bloom on your lips. There is nothing left to resist, nothing left to hold on to. Everything dissolves into that light. In that moment, we suddenly realize that peaceful sleep is not far away. It lies within the benevolent heart that is blooming. A person with a benevolent heart not only sleeps well, but also lives long and healthily. Why? Because when the mind is benevolent, the body relaxes, and the organs in the body function harmoniously. Modern science also proves that compassion reduces stress hormones and increases happiness hormones. When we think good thoughts, the cells in our body also hear and respond with lightness. The Buddha saw this thousands of years ago. He taught that the mind leads all phenomena. A pure mind leads to a pure body. So if we want our body to be at peace, if we want to sleep peacefully, we must start by making our mind benevolent. In life, there are rich people with big houses and grand gates who still can't sleep at night. They fear loss, fear defeat, fear others are better than them. There are poor people who only have a small house by the river, but sleep soundly every night. Mrs. Nam, who sold bananas at the village market, is an example. She didn't have much money, but every morning she woke up early to clean her banana basket, arrange the bananas neatly, and smile as she greeted everyone. She often gave hungry children a ripe banana. Everyone loved her and called her kind Mrs. Nam. In the evening, when the sun set, she would count her money, just enough to buy rice and vegetables, and she would smile. Someone advised her to expand her stall, hire someone to sell to earn more. She just smiled kindly. I have enough. Having food and peaceful sleep is already a great wealth. Every night she slept very well because her heart owed no one, resented no one, and coveted nothing. That is the blessing of a person who knows how to live virtuously and is content. A benevolent heart doesn't need to be grand. It manifests in the way we speak kindly words, in the way we listen to someone who is sad, in the way we don't rush to judge, in the way we stop before speaking hurtful words to someone. A gentle word can save a soul. A smile can illuminate a dark day. A person with a benevolent heart is like the moon in the night, quietly shining without demanding anything. When a benevolent heart is large enough, it not only illuminates others, but also warms itself. Try to imagine, when you lie down, close your eyes. If there is no one you resent, no regrets, no calculations in your heart, how comfortable you will feel. That is the reward for a person who knows how to live virtuously. A benevolent mind is the softest pillow, the warmest blanket that no material thing can buy. People who do good deeds sleep well, not because life is without storms, but because they know how to maintain peace amidst storms. They are like someone sailing a boat at sea, but knowing how to hold the rudder so the boat doesn't capsize. If tonight you have trouble sleeping, try something simple. Think of someone you once resented, or sad about, or even hurt. Instead of blaming them, send them a wish. May you be at peace. May you be happy. When you do that, the energy within you will change. You will feel lighter, gentler, and find it easier to sleep. Forgiveness, understanding, love, and doing good, all are ways to purify the soul. And when the mind is cleansed, sleep will come like a clear stream flowing through a silent forest. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha taught that a person with a mind of loving kindness sleeps peacefully, wakes peacefully, has no bad dreams. Their body and mind are light, and they are loved by others. A benevolent heart is precisely a heart of loving kindness. When a heart of loving kindness is nurtured, it becomes a lamp that shines throughout life and never goes out. Just like Mr. Fook in the story, the lamp on his porch illuminated the path for his children and grandchildren every night. One time, when the power went out, sitting in the dark, he suddenly thought, "All this time, I've been lighting lamps for others, but I've forgotten to illuminate my own heart." From then on, he practiced sitting still, breathing, and contemplating. He felt his heart lighten, became less irritable, and less troubled. The goodness in him was awakened. The goodness in our hearts is also like that. Sometimes it's just asleep. A peaceful night is an opportunity for us to awaken it. In the long night, when all the noise has subsided, let your heart become still, like a flat lake under the moon. When the lake is still, the moon is clearly reflected. When the mind is still, goodness shines. Believe that this moonlight is always within you. No matter how many years pass, no matter how much life has hurt you, doing good is not for praise, not to accumulate merit for the next life, but for our heart to be at peace in this very moment. When the heart is at peace, we no longer fear, no longer toss and turn. We can smile, gently close our eyes, and sleep a truly peaceful sleep. The moonlight of kindness still shines, silently and persistently. It never goes out as long as we know how to love, how to give, how to live virtuously. When we sow moonlight into life, we also sow happiness into ourselves. Tonight, if you are lying down listening to these words, inhale very slowly, feeling the cool, fresh air pass through your nose, through your heart. Then exhale gently, letting go of all burdens. Smile and say in your mind, I vow to live virtuously. I vow to love. The moonlight in your heart will brighten, and peaceful sleep will come as a reward for the kindness you have just nurtured. Have you ever felt like you're constantly chasing something that you can never quite reach? Some people search for happiness their entire lives, but the more they search, the emptier they feel. Some travel long distances to find peace, but the further they go, the more restless their hearts become. Life today makes us easily forget that happiness is actually very close. We just need to know how to stop, how to look deeply, how to feel with our hearts. But amidst the fast pace of life, amidst accumulated desires, how many people are willing to stop and see that? We often think that we need a little more, need to be a little better, need to be a little more perfect to be truly happy. But the more we strive for perfection, the further we drift from reality. It's like someone walking through a vast field, always searching for the most beautiful blade of grass, unaware that every blade of grass under their feet is already a miracle of heaven and earth. In Buddhist teachings, the Buddha once taught that the root of all suffering is craving and attachment. When we constantly desire more, demand more, then even if we have thousands of good things in our hands, we still feel empty. Happiness is not about how much we possess, but about whether we know contentment. Contentment is great wisdom. A person who knows a contentment will feel sufficiency even in scarcity. A person who knows a contentment will smile even with a simple meal. A person who knows contentment will sleep peacefully even when there's a storm outside. But a person who is not content, even in a palace of gold and silver, will still fear, still feel they don't have enough, still live in constant uneasiness. When we crave perfection, we are inadvertently denying the beauty of the present. Every morning, we look out at the garden and see flowers that haven't bloomed perfectly, leaves with wormholes, butterflies flying askew. And we think that this world is flawed. But if we look with a clear mind, we will see that everything is in its right place. A leaf has a wormhole because a small worm once found shelter there. That, too, is part of the flow of life. A flower is not perfect because it is still in the process of blooming. And that very fact makes it vibrant. A butterfly flies askew because the wind changed direction. And that very deviation creates the rhythm of nature. If we only look to judge, we will forever see flaws. But if we look with gratitude, we will see that this entire world is a precious lesson. The story of young An and his old teacher is a profound illustration of this. Back then, when the students sat on old wooden chairs, the teacher gently told the class, "Today we have a small lesson. Each of you go to the field behind the school and pick the most beautiful blade of grass for me. But remember, you can only go in one direction. You cannot turn back." The whole class giggled, thinking it was a simple game. Just pick a blade of grass. But when the classroom door closed, each child had their own journey. The green field stretched out to the horizon, the wind blew cool, and the scent of the countryside permeated the air. An, a 12-year-old boy, walked, bending down to look at each blade of grass. "This one is too green, but a bit small. That one is too long, but has a tear. That other one is fresh, but grows too close to the ground." He thought to himself that if he went a little further, he would surely find a more perfect blade of grass. He walked hundreds of meters through the grass, saw so many lush green blades, but his heart was still not satisfied. He believed that ahead there would be a truly magnificent blade of grass, unlike any he had ever seen. Then the sun began to set. When he turned back, and suddenly realized he had gone too far and couldn't go back to choose again. He squatted down by the edge of the grass, his hands empty, his heart filled with regret. That afternoon, An returned to class, bowing his head to the teacher. "Sir, I walked and looked forever, but couldn't find a single perfect blade of grass." The teacher smiled kindly, like the golden afternoon sun shining through the window. "You couldn't find one, not because the field lacked beautiful blades of grass, but because your heart didn't know when to stop." The whole class fell silent. The sound of the wind outside the yard seemed to blow through each young soul. An looked up at the teacher, his eyes teary. He understood something that perhaps only much later would he truly grasp. Years later, when he grew up, An still remembered the teacher's words that day. Whenever life drew him into the whirlpools of seeking fame, money, recognition, he would see the image of the old grass field. He realized that the more we search for perfection, the more we lose the simple yet precious things right before our eyes. Many of us are like An. We want a more complete life, a better partner, a more ideal job. But when we are engrossed in searching, we forget that this very present moment, despite its many flaws, is an invaluable gift. To still wake up in the morning, to see the blue sky, to hear the birds sing, to be able to speak loving words to loved ones, that is already happiness. The Buddha once taught that a contented mind is a peaceful mind. When we know when to stop, we will see that we already have everything. But when we keep wanting more, better, more beautiful, we will forever live in lack. That lack is not in material things, but in the mind. A rich person whose mind is not content is still poor. A poor person whose mind knows contentment still feels rich. It's like a glass of water. If our mind is an ocean, then even a sip of water is enough to quench its thirst. But if our mind is a desert, even a river cannot satisfy its thirst. Some people suffer from insomnia not because of physical illness, but because of mental illness. They lie in bed, their bodies still, but their minds are restless. They think about unfinished tasks, unfulfilled desires, past mistakes, future worries. The more they think, the wearier their minds become. The wearier their minds, the less their bodies can rest. Insomnia is not just a physical phenomenon, but a call from consciousness, reminding us that it's time to stop. It's time to return to ourselves. If tonight you feel weary, try to stop for a moment. Sit still or lie still. Close your eyes and inhale deeply. Let your breath enter gently, like the wind rustling through leaves. Then exhale, carrying away worries and concerns. In that moment, you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be anyone else. You just need to be yourself. A person learning to love, learning to live, learning contentment. You can try a small exercise. Before sleeping, ask yourself 3 things. How many times did I smile today? What am I grateful for? And what can I let go of? When you can answer these 3 questions, you will feel lighter. Each time you smile, you are sowing a seed of goodness in your heart. Each time you are grateful, you are watering the soil of happiness. And each time you let go, you are cutting a rope that binds you to suffering. Some say that to sleep well, you need a warm room, a soft bed, and a pleasant scent. But the Buddha taught that peaceful sleep does not come from outside, but from within. When the mind is no longer agitated, no longer seeking, then even lying on a torn mat, one can sleep peacefully. Just as a lake only reflects the moon when its waters are still, our minds can only reflect happiness when they have settled. Young An, if he had known to stop at the first blade of grass, might have brought back a simple yet complete gift. But because he walked the entire field, he learned the greatest lesson. No blade of grass is perfect. Only a heart that knows how to stop truly sees beauty. Life is the same. No one, nothing is absolutely perfect. Each person is a part of the impermanent tapestry, beautiful in their very incompleteness. Tonight, if you are listening to these words, let your mind rest. Don't compare. Don't search. Don't want more. Let the moonlight of a benevolent heart shine into your mind. When your heart is bright, darkness naturally dissipates. When your heart knows contentment, suffering naturally departs. When your heart knows when to stop, peace will come. We are all practitioners on the path to finding ourselves. Every slow step is a step closer to peace. Every deep breath is a return, and every moment of gratitude is a moment of living fully. Remember that happiness is not when everything is perfect, but when we accept even imperfections with a gentle heart. When we know when to stop, we will see that our life's field is still lush green. The wind still blows gently, and every ordinary blade of grass radiates the light of peace. A peaceful night is a kind friend. a mirror for us to look into our own hearts. If the mind is still rippling, let the light of a benevolent mind lead the way. If the heart is still heavy, let go. If the heart is still thirsty, return to the present. For only when we know when to stop can we truly live. And when we live with a heart that knows contentment, love, and gratitude, our sleep will come gently as the wind, warm as the moon, and deep as the earth. There are nights when we toss and turn, unable to sleep, not because of the cars outside or the pillow not being soft enough, but because our hearts contain too many things we haven't let go of. Sometimes it's something someone said that hurt us. Sometimes it's an incomplete task that we keep thinking about. Then, each thought, like a wave, constantly crashes in our minds, making sleep vanish. In such moments, we often wonder why our hearts cannot find peace. Is it because life is too complicated? Or is it because we haven't learned to see life with a peaceful mind? The Buddha once taught that it is not circumstances that cause us suffering, but our minds that suffer because of circumstances. Life itself remains the same. People remain the same. Events remain the same. Only when our mind changes do the circumstances before us change. That is the art of those who know how to live mindfully, how to see life with eyes of understanding and a heart of love. When we change our way of seeing, we no longer see the one who hurt us as an enemy, but as someone who is lost. We no longer see life as unfair, but as a lesson for our mind to grow, like someone crossing a stream. If we see the water as a friend, we will feel light. But if we are afraid, we will see the water as deep and swift. There was a teacher named Han who taught elementary school in a small village. Ms. Han's life was made up of early mornings in the classroom, afternoons grading papers, and golden sunbeams falling on the quiet schoolyard. She lived simply, loved her students, loved her profession, and cherished a particular glass cup. She had carried that cup with her since her first day of teaching. It was a gift from her deceased mother. Every morning, she would make a cup of tea in that glass, watching the ethereal steam rise as if her mother was still somewhere nearby. One day, during recess, some children were playing, and one of them accidentally dropped the cup. The sound of it shattering was stark, and the whole class fell silent. Ms. Han stood looking at the broken pieces on the floor, her heart twisting. She stepped forward, intending to scold, but then stopped. In that moment, she saw the fearful face of her student, eyes welling up, hands trembling. She suddenly remembered her mother, who once taught her that a broken cup can be replaced, but a child's broken heart is hard to mend. She knelt down, gently picked up each shard, and said, "The cup is broken, but my heart should not be broken." The whole class was completely silent. Then the children's eyes brightened, both moved and relieved. Ms. Han smiled kindly, her heart suddenly warm, as if someone had lit a small lamp in the darkness. The cup was broken, but her heart was at peace. Ms. Han's words spread throughout the school, becoming a story that students remembered for years. People said it wasn't the cup that caused her suffering, but that she chose not to let her heart break along with it. In life, how many times do we face such broken cups, precious things we lose, loved ones who leave, dreams unfulfilled? But we can choose either to let our hearts shatter into pieces with the broken fragments, or to smile and pick them up with a peaceful mind. The Buddha taught that the mind is like water. When the water is still, the moon appears. When the mind is clear, wisdom shines. When we look at life with a peaceful mind, we will see that everything is a lesson for growth. People who come are conditions. People who leave signify conditions have ended. Changing circumstances are old karma coming to fruition. We just need to learn how to see, how to accept, and how to let go. Someone once said that life does not change. Only when our mind changes does life change accordingly. This is indeed true. When we change our perspective, someone who once made us angry can become someone who helps us understand compassion more deeply. An event that once caused us suffering can become an opportunity to learn to let go. A crisis that once caused us insomnia is precisely a reminder that our mind is too bound. Looking at others with love, that is the first step to inner peace. Love not because that person deserves it, but because we understand that everyone carries suffering. When we see someone acting impulsively instead of getting angry, we see them as pitiable because they are being consumed by their own anger. When we see someone being envious instead of blaming, we know they are being controlled by fear in their heart. Looking at others with love is looking with the light of wisdom, not with the darkness of reaction. Looking at events with a balanced mind, that is the second step. Every event that occurs has its causes and conditions. Some things come for us to learn patience. Some come for us to learn to let go. Some things come for us to learn to smile. A person with a balanced mind is not someone who doesn't encounter storms, but someone who knows how to stand still in the midst of a tempest. Like a tranquil lake, even if leaves fall, the water remains clear. When we practice looking at everything with a balanced mind, we no longer fear changes, no longer blame life for being unfair. We understand that what comes will also go. Nothing lasts forever, not even pain. Looking at life with the light of understanding, that is the final step, and also the pinnacle of mind cultivation. When wisdom illuminates, we see that all suffering originates from ignorance, from not understanding. Understanding that life is impermanent, we no longer cling. Understanding that everyone bears their own karma, we no longer compare. Understanding that true happiness is not found externally, we no longer chase after it. With the light of understanding, we see that even darkness has a reason for existence, for it is thanks to darkness that light becomes clearer. Every night, sitting quietly before sleep, we can practice this lesson. Sit down, take a deep breath, then exhale slowly. Imagine you are looking at life through the eyes of the Buddha. Remember that all things that once troubled you are small when placed in the impermanent flow of time. Forgive someone, not because they are right, but because you want your heart to be light. Smile at yourself, for you have weathered many storms and are still here, still able to hear the Dharma, still able to return. Just that is enough for the mind to be at peace. A Zen master once said, "Our mind is a mirror. If the mirror is clean, the scene is bright. If the mirror is dusty, the scene is blurry." Every time we resent or hate someone, we are adding a layer of dust. Every time we forgive, we are wiping away a layer of blur. And so, day by day, the mirror of our heart becomes clearer, and we see life more brightly. Then, even amidst suffering, we find peace. Even amidst loss, we find gratitude. Someone once asked the Buddha how to end suffering. He didn't say much, just smiled. Don't cling to what causes you suffering. That teaching is simple, yet profound. Because sometimes it's not life that binds us, but we who bind life. It's not someone else who causes us insomnia, but we who cling tightly to things that should be let go of. If each of us could look at life with a peaceful mind, like Ms. Han looking at the broken cup, surely this world would be so much gentler. We would no longer raise our voices over small matters, no longer resent things of the past. We would see every person who passes through our lives as a lesson. Some teach us to love, some teach us patience, some teach us to let go. And all are our teachers on the path of learning the art of peaceful living. When we live with a peaceful mind, we also sleep peacefully. Sleep comes not because we try to find it, but because our heart is quiet enough to receive it. Just as still water doesn't try to find the moon naturally reflects itself. A person with a peaceful mind doesn't need to seek happiness. Happiness finds them. They don't need to pray for peace. Peace comes when the mind no longer resists. That is the secret to living healthy, living lightly, living happily. And tonight, before you close your eyes, remember that saying, "The cup is broken, but my heart should not be broken." Perhaps tomorrow we will face difficulties. Perhaps something will make us sad, but as long as we keep our hearts from breaking, everything will pass. Because when the mind is at peace, life is at peace. When the heart is still, circumstances become clear. When we know how to look at life with eyes of love and wisdom, we will realize that happiness has never left us. We just haven't been peaceful enough to recognize it. Perhaps each of us has had days so exhausting that we just want to let go of everything. Work piles up. The phone rings incessantly. Notifications keep coming. Modern life seems to constantly drag us into a whirlwind of haste. Every morning, when we open our eyes, our minds are already surrounded by 100 worries. Every night, when we close our eyes, we find ourselves besieged by endless thoughts. We call this life, but in reality, it's a complexity that we ourselves create. And in that complexity, sleep gradually becomes a luxury. We sleep on a soft bed, but our minds are restless. We have warm blankets, but our hearts feel cold. Every night is a battle between wakefulness and dreams, between a tired body and a mind that refuses to let go. Many people ask why. The more material possessions they have, the more restless their lives become, and the more fitful their sleep. Perhaps the answer lies in the word complexity. The Buddha taught that humans suffer because their minds don't know when to stop. When the mind still chases and clings, then naturally the body also tires. The intellect also becomes chaotic, and sleep cannot be peaceful. Our mind is like a lake. When the winds of desire, anger, and comparison blow through it, the lake becomes turbulent. In those waves, no one can see the reflection of the moon. Only when the water is still does the full moon appear. Similarly, only when the mind is simple and peaceful does true serenity emerge. A person who knows how to live simply is someone who is learning to see the moon in the lake. There is a simple but profound saying, Don't complicate simple problems. At first glance, it seems like common advice, but in reality, it is a life wisdom. Because most of our suffering does not come from grand things, but from our tendency to complicate everything ourselves. A word we overthink, a glance we overanalyze, a small matter we turn into a mountain. The more tangled the mind, the more tangled life becomes. The simpler the mind, the more peaceful life becomes. Just like a garden, if we plant all kinds of trees, grasses, and flowers interspersed, it will only look chaotic. But if we know how to clear it, keeping only a few gentle flower beds and a few shady trees, the garden naturally becomes peaceful. Simplicity is not about lacking, but about knowing contentment. It's not about doing nothing, but about knowing when to stop at the right time. It's not about escaping life, but about living deeply in the present. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha taught that a person who knows contentment, even if they lie on the ground, finds joy. A person who is not content, even in a celestial palace, is still not satisfied. Contentment, or knowing enough, is when simplicity arises. When we know we have enough, we don't need more. When we don't need more, we worry less. When we worry less, sleep naturally comes peacefully. Some people spend their entire lives chasing happiness, but they don't know that happiness is inherently right in this very moment. We just need to stop. Take a deep breath, smile, and we will already feel life lighten by half. There's a small story that Phat Phap Lin Ung wants to share. People call it the no-phone day. An Quan's family lived in the city. Their house was always brightly lit, filled with the ringing of phones, the sound of the TV, and notification alerts. Each person had their own device. Every evening, the whole family sat together at the table, but each person was lost in a different world. His son wore headphones, watching videos. His wife scrolled on her phone through social media, and he answered work messages. They lived close, but were distant, smiled, but felt empty, were together, but didn't truly connect. One evening, the city had a power outage. Everything plunged into darkness. No more phones, no more TV, no more noise. An Quan lit a candle, and the whole family sat together. At first, there was awkwardness. Then they started talking. Questions that no one had asked for a long time. Did you have fun at school today, son? Are you tired lately, dear? Laughter rang out, the candlelight flickering on each person's face, warm and gentle, as if they were sitting in a small meditation hall in the heart of the city. That night, they ate dinner slowly, chewed more carefully, talked longer. There was no internet, no connections other than the connection between people. When everything turned off, they finally realized what was truly bright. The next day, when the power returned, An Quan looked around the house, saw everything was as it was, but his heart felt different. He regretted the evenings he had lost just by staring at screens. From that day on, his family decided to have one no-phone evening each week. They called it the Serene Day. Just turn off phones, turn off the TV, and the whole family would sit together to eat, drink tea, and tell each other simple stories. A month later, An Quan told a friend, "I never thought a little simplicity could bring so much peace." His friend asked, "What's different?" He just smiled. "The difference is that I learned to listen. When we let go of one thing, we can see what remains. When we are silent, we can hear the true sound. When we simplify, we can see the joy that is already present in life. Life doesn't inherently need too many things to be happy. A warm cup of tea, a small story, a smile, a deep sleep, all are enough for our hearts to find peace. The Buddha once taught that the one who knows when to stop is the richest. The one who knows peace is the healthiest. The one who knows how to let go is the freest. All attachments in life begin from the mind's desire to cling. When the mind knows how to let go, the world also becomes light. Many people say they suffer from insomnia due to work, pressure, or sadness. But in reality, insomnia is because the mind has not learned how to simplify. When the mind still wants to calculate everything, sleep cannot come. We cannot expect a peaceful night when our hearts are in a storm. Try to think, every night, if we can sit down, put down our phones, breathe deeply, recite a Buddha's name, our mind will change. Namo Amitabha Buddha is like a gentle breeze blowing away the dust of worry. Namo Amitabha Buddha is like a cool drop of water irrigating a dry heart. Just a few simple minutes, and our mind changes. Someone once asked Fat Phap Lin Ung how to learn to live simply. I said, first, learn to reflect. Every day, ask yourself, is this truly necessary? If I don't have it, will I lose anything? When you can answer this, you will know what to keep and what to let go of. Simplification is not abandonment, but a wise choice. It's like a traveler on a long journey, only carrying enough luggage for use, not clinging to everything. When the luggage is light, the steps naturally become steadier. Similarly, when the mind is light, sleep comes naturally, without medicine, without forcing, just by being still. If you are listening to these words on an evening when your mind is troubled, try a small exercise. Turn off external sounds. Sit on your bed, back straight, eyes half closed. Inhale deeply, feeling the breath enter slowly and warmly. Exhale, releasing all worries, like dropping a fallen leaf onto water. In your mind, you can softly recite Namo Amitabha Buddha. Each recitation is a step bringing the mind back. Feel the breath like a stream flowing through every cell, washing away every tiredness. 1 minute, then 2 minutes, then 5 minutes. You will feel your heart gradually calm down. At that moment, if you smile, that is a moment of true serenity. Modern life makes us believe that we must have a lot to be enough, must run fast to achieve, must know a lot to be safe. But the Buddha's teachings are different. The peaceful person is the one who knows when to stop. The happy person is the one who knows little. The wise person is the one who knows how to let go. When simple, we see every breath as a gift. When simple, we are grateful even for a moment of silence with a cup of tea. When simple, we see sleep not just as rest, but as meditation in unconsciousness, where the mind can return and rest with the body. Sometimes we think we need to change the world to find peace. But in reality, we only need to change the way we see it. The world may still be noisy, but our minds don't have to be noisy with it. Others may still be rushed, but we can slow down. Someone may still be contending, but we can choose to smile. Simplicity is the art of choice, choosing kindness, choosing clarity, choosing gratitude. Then life naturally becomes light. Happiness is no longer something to chase, but the breath that is here now. Try living a simple day. Turn off your phone for an hour. Sit by the window. Watch the sun pass through the leaves. Listen to the wind, the birds, your own heart. Call a loved one just to check in, not to discuss business. Eat a meal very slowly, chewing carefully. Feel the sweetness of each grain of rice. Go to bed earlier. No need to get lost in countless news updates. You will realize that just by doing so, life changes. Because simplicity is returning to the natural state of the mind. When the mind is simple, sleep is also gentle, like the wind. The wind doesn't ask where it's going. It just gently sweeps over fields, over rooftops, over rivers, then dissolves into nothingness. The sleep of a simple person is the same. It comes gently, goes gently, without heaviness, without worries. Waking up in the morning, they feel their hearts full of gratitude, find life still lovely, and see that they still have opportunities to live virtuously, to smile, to love. Remember that the Dharma is not far away. It is in the way we drink water, the way we breathe, the way we speak kind words. Every small act, if done with a simple mind, becomes a meditation. Simplicity is the root of serenity. Serenity is the foundation of happiness. And happiness is something everyone can achieve simply by knowing when to stop at the right time. When you hear these words, perhaps you are lying in bed. The lights are off. Only the sound of the wind outside. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Feel that you don't need to do anything anymore. Don't need to worry anymore. The world still turns, but you can rest. Let your mind be as simple as the night sky, vast and peaceful, where all worries dissipate like thin clouds. Then sleep will come like a kind friend, gently stepping into your mind, lulling you into the embrace of simple peace. Simplifying life is actually learning to live with oneself. A little less wanting, a little more gratitude, a little less contention, a little more listening, a little less complexity, a little more love. And then you will see that you don't need to search far. Happiness is right where you are sitting, in this very moment, in the slow incoming and outgoing breath. When you understand this, you will see that you don't need to run to find peace anymore, because peace has never left you. It's just waiting for you to simplify so it can return. Like a lake after the wind, when it becomes still, the moon naturally reappears. Our mind is the same. When it is still, Buddha nature shines brightly. And then sleep will be sweet. Life will be light. And each day will be a silent meditation in ordinary life. There are nights when we toss and turn in the silent darkness, not because the pillow isn't soft enough or the room is too bright, but because our hearts hold something that hasn't been released. Perhaps it's a sorrow, a regret, or simply a feeling of emptiness. In such moments, we realize that a person can sleep on a soft bed, but their mind may never rest if it remains closed. If we only think of receiving, holding on, accumulating for ourselves, then no matter how abundant our material possessions, our hearts remain poor. But when we know how to give, even if it's just a comforting word or a small share, we will feel a light, wind-like energy emerge in our hearts. That is the energy of love, of giving, of compassion. It is the energy that can heal even the deepest wounds of the heart. The Buddha taught that one who knows how to practice generosity is one who knows how to let go. Generosity is not just giving money or possessions to others, but letting go of our own grasping mind. When we give, we don't lose anything. Rather, we open up a new space in our minds where light can enter. It's like a cup filled with murky water. If we don't pour some out, we'll never have space to pour in clear water. Similarly, if our minds are constantly filled with selfish worries, gains, and losses, how can the light of peace shine through? Giving is how we pour out the old to receive the new, release the heavy to lighten the mind, discard the cramped to expand the heart. And it is in this process that we are healed. Once, a teacher told his students a story about coffee and a cup. He said, happiness is like coffee, while material possessions, fame, and external forms are just the cup that holds it. Some people spend their entire lives choosing beautiful cups, forgetting that what they truly need to enjoy is the flavor of the coffee. Many suffer because they worry that their cup is not as good as someone else's. They forget that the cup doesn't change the taste of the coffee. It only troubles our minds. When we know when to stop and savor the coffee in our hands, even if the cup is simple, happiness is still complete. The Dharma is also like this. It is not found in external forms, not in rituals, but in a mind that knows when to stop, to give, to be content. Happiness is not where we arrive, but how we see and how we live. When we know how to give without expecting anything in return, that is when we are truly drinking the sweet nectar of life. The story of Mr. Lam, the owner of a small coffee shop in an alley in Saigon, is a simple testament to this. Mr. Lam was not wealthy. His coffee shop was just a small place with a few old wooden tables, some green potted plants, and an old radio that often played soft music in the mornings. Every day, he woke early to brew coffee, opening his shop before dawn. Across the street, there was an old Om motorcycle taxi driver, thin, with a face deeply etched by the wrinkles of time. He would wait for customers from morning, but many days he would sit there for hours with no calls. Mr. Lam noticed this. One morning, seeing the old man huddled and cold, he brought over a hot cup of coffee. The Om driver was surprised. Before he could ask, Mr. Lam smiled kindly. I brewed this coffee to awaken my own heart. The old man took the cup, his hands trembling, his eyes lighting up in the faint dawn. From that day on, every morning Mr. Lam would brew an extra cup of coffee, free of charge, and set it aside for the Om driver. It became a habit. He brewed it with all his heart. The old man received it with gratitude. No one said much. There was only the fragrant coffee aroma mingling with the early morning mist, and a gentle smile on their two aging faces. One day, someone asked Mr. Lam, "Why are you so kind? You give that old man coffee every day without taking money?" He just smiled. "I'm not giving to anyone. I'm just giving myself an opportunity to be happy." The other person didn't understand. He continued, "Every time I pour coffee for him, I feel my heart lighten. It's as if I'm pouring out the good things in my own heart. The more I give, the more complete I feel." Those words silenced the person. Because in a hurried life, how many people are still clear-headed enough to understand that giving does not make us poor, but enriches our hearts? One morning, Mr. Lamb didn't see the Xe-Om driver. He waited 1 day, then 2 days. On the 3rd day, a man came to the shop and handed him an old piece of paper. On the paper was a trembling note. "Thank you, Mr. Lamb, for the morning coffees. I have to go back to my village. My illness has worsened. Your coffee reminded me that there are still good people in this world. May you always be at peace." Mr. Lamb read it, speechless. He poured another cup of coffee, placed it on the empty table, and clasped his hands in a quiet prayer. The coffee steam mingled with the early morning smoke like a kind blessing sent to his old friend. From that day on, he maintained the habit of brewing an extra cup, even though no one came to take it. Perhaps he knew that not everyone can return, but kindness remains forever. And every cup of coffee he brewed was an act of gratitude for life, one act of giving, one act of self-healing. This small story, yet it contains a great lesson. Giving does not make us lose, but makes our hearts fuller. When we give, we free ourselves from the heaviness of the ego. The bigger the ego, the more suffering. The smaller the ego, the greater the happiness. Like a candle, when it shares its light with another, it doesn't diminish, but the whole room becomes brighter. Our mind is also like that. When it knows how to share, how to love, then the light within us radiates, and darkness naturally dissipates. Then sleep also becomes gentle, because the mind is no longer heavy with anyone, no longer indebted to anyone, no longer blaming anyone. Only gratitude and love remain. The Buddha taught that generosity is the gateway to happiness. There are 3 types of generosity: material giving, taithi, dharma giving, phapthi, and fearlessness, giving vo uiti. Material giving is giving away wealth and possessions. Dharma giving is giving good words, beautiful thoughts, and understanding to help others awaken. And fearlessness giving is giving away fearlessness, meaning making others feel at ease and not worried. When we give any of these 3 things, our mind immediately opens, because at that moment, we are living with a mind that does not cling, does not hold on, does not fear. Each act of giving is an act of letting go, an act of liberation from oneself. If you are feeling tired, sleepless, or uneasy, try a small exercise. Give something today. It doesn't have to be grand. It could be a sincere compliment, a small act of help, a message to check in, a glass of water for a cleaner, or simply a smile. When you do that, feel your breath. Inhale, your mind expands. Exhale, your heart lightens. Let that giving be without calculation, without needing anything in return, simply like the wind blowing, like the rain falling. When you give in this way, you will feel your heart warm, and at night, you will sleep better because your mind has become clear. A person with a benevolent heart is like clear water. Even amidst life's struggles, they can still reflect the moon. Try sitting quietly in the evening before going to bed. Close your eyes. Breathe gently. Remember a friend, a loved one, or even someone you once resented. In your mind, send them a wish. May you be at peace. No need to speak it aloud. Just whisper it. Each wish is like a petal, each breath like a gentle wind. When you do that, you are giving away the energy of love. And the miracle is that when that energy radiates, it will return to you gently, warmly, like morning dew touching your skin. You will feel your heart soften, breathe more deeply, and your eyes will naturally close in peaceful sleep. In life, some people become happier the more they give. They don't count, don't weigh, don't fear loss. They understand that the universe has its own laws of operation. What we give with a benevolent heart will return as blessings. A person who knows how to give is a person who has learned how to let go. Because only when we let go do we have space to receive. And that very act of giving is the most powerful healing energy. It melts hatred, dissolves loneliness, and soothes the silent wounds in the heart. Giving is goodness in action. It is compassion in everyday life. You can see that people who regularly help others rarely suffer from prolonged insomnia. They live lightly. Their hearts are not filled with resentment. Every time they lay their head on the pillow, they sleep soundly because their minds are not heavy. Conversely, people who only know how to keep for themselves easily get tired because they have to strain themselves to protect what they fear losing. When the mind wants to cling, the body also tenses. When the mind fears loss, sleep also distances itself. Therefore, to sleep peacefully, learn to give. When we give, the mind naturally opens, and the energy of peace flows in like cool water. The Buddha taught that one who knows how to love, even amidst difficult circumstances, still finds joy because they are no longer influenced by gain and loss. Gain and loss are just two banks of a river. When we see the river, both banks disappear. Practice giving every day, not for praise, not for fear of criticism, but because it is how we make our minds brighter. A bright mind leads to bright sleep. A person who knows how to love has a healthy body and a peaceful mind. Giving is a miraculous practice, a way for us to meditate in every breath of ordinary life. As night falls, before going to bed, think of one good thing you did during the day. Even if it's a small thing, smile and tell yourself, "Today I sowed a good seed." Then let go of everything else. A mind that knows how to give is also a mind that knows contentment. Then you will find sleep comes gently like drifting clouds, peacefully like a silent river. And your heart is like a clear, open sky. Because a person who knows how to give is a person who has found the path back to themselves. Remember, give without expecting anything in return. That is the door to peaceful sleep. When the mind no longer calculates, the energy of compassion will naturally spread and heal every small corner of the soul. Happiness is not having a lot, but knowing how to share. Peace is not escaping, but opening the heart. And serene sleep does not come from medicine or comfort, but from a heart that knows how to love, to give, to let go. Tonight, if you feel a little worried in your heart, remember Mr. Lamb and his morning coffee. Remember that every time you give, you are brewing yourself a cup of coffee of awakening. Drink it slowly, savoring the sweet taste of giving. And then, when you close your eyes, let your mind be as peaceful as a still lake, so that sleep comes like a flower blooming in stillness. For in giving, we rediscover ourselves, whole, gentle, and peaceful. There are nights when people toss and turn, unable to sleep. Not because the pillow isn't soft or the room isn't quiet, but because their hearts hold countless things they haven't let go of. Some lie in a spacious house, but feel confined in their hearts. Some, in the middle of the night, hear the rain fall and recall an old pain. Insomnia is not just a physical matter, but a signal from a weary mind. When the mind is still heavy, sleep will never truly be peaceful. Some say life is suffering, but few understand that suffering is precisely the key to unlocking peace. If we know how to see suffering, it becomes the greatest teacher in life. The Buddha once taught, when suffering reaches its limit, the sweet taste of happiness reveals itself. Just as after days of incessant rain, the sunlight becomes truly brilliant, and after long, dark nights, dawn becomes truly precious. Everyone in life must pass through the darkness of suffering to realize the value of light. No one can avoid suffering, but some allow suffering to drown them. Others, thanks to suffering, rise up and become kinder and more understanding. Suffering or peace depends on how our minds perceive it. The Buddha taught, appearance arises from the mind. Circumstances transform with the mind. This means that all circumstances in life reflect from the mind. When the mind is bright, circumstances are bright. When the mind is at peace, the body is also at peace. What we call bad luck is sometimes a good seed that karma has sown for us. There is a story about a young man named Sin, who lived in the mountains of the Northwest. His life, like that of many other villagers, was spent year-round working in the fields, toiling from dawn till dusk. One day, while clearing grass on a hillside, he unfortunately slipped, fell into a rocky crevice, and broke his leg. Everyone in the village pitied him, saying he was unlucky, that bad fortune was haunting him that year. Sin lay bedridden, looking at his bandaged leg, his heart filled with immeasurable sadness. Every day, he could only look out the window, seeing people go to work, and his heart would grow heavy. At night, the incessant sound of the forest rain kept him tossing and turning, unable to sleep. In his heart, he constantly wondered why suffering had come to him. But just a week later, a terrifying landslide swept down on the very fields where he used to work. All the people who had gone to the fields that day were swept away. Sin, thanks to his injury, was at home and escaped the disaster. When he heard the news, he sat in silence for a long time. The tears that fell were no longer tears of sadness, but of boundless gratitude. He realized that sometimes what we call misfortune is quietly saving us from something even worse. Suffering, it turns out, does not come to destroy us, but to hold us back, to help us awaken. From that day on, Sin changed completely. He no longer complained about his fate, but learned to live slowly, grateful for every meal, every breath. When pain came, he smiled, because he understood that it too was just a small shower in the impermanent flow of life. Sin's story is like a mirror reflecting the consciousness of many of us. When suffering comes, we often want to escape, blame, or compare ourselves to others. But the Buddha taught that suffering is not an enemy, but a friend that helps us understand ourselves better. If there were no suffering, we would forever live superficially, forever chasing illusions without stopping to look within. It is suffering that teaches us patience, humility, how to let go, and how to be grateful, just as mud gives birth to the lotus. If there were no mud, the lotus could not grow. Without suffering, peace cannot blossom. Happiness is not really about how much we have, but about how we accept what comes to us. When we stop resisting, stop complaining, and begin to accept, understand, and let go, then suffering will naturally dissipate. Someone asked how to end suffering. The Buddha replied, "Understand suffering, and suffering ends." When we clearly see the nature of suffering as arising from attachment and craving, then we will stop clinging. Suffering no longer holds power over us, just as when we know a dream is just a dream. Even if we encounter big waves and strong winds in the dream, our hearts remain peaceful. A practitioner does not seek to end suffering, but seeks to have the wisdom to see suffering with clear eyes. For suffering is the path that leads to enlightenment. Before attaining Buddhahood, the Buddha also had to endure countless hardships, hunger, cold, and loneliness. It was because he tasted all the flavors of life's suffering that he found the path to liberation for all sentient beings. If we are willing to learn from suffering, suffering will become a teacher. If we resist suffering, suffering will become a prison that confines our minds. When we understand this, those who suffer from insomnia, those who are sick, those who are sad, will feel their hearts lighten. Because even suffering is a part of the blessing that allows us to stop and listen to ourselves. In evening meditation sessions, there's a small exercise that Buddhist practitioners often perform to alleviate suffering. When sitting still, inhale deeply and acknowledge that suffering is present in your body and mind. Do not avoid it. Do not hate it. Simply recognize it as a friend. Then exhale gently, smiling at that very suffering. Practicing this way, gradually we will see a miracle. Suffering no longer frightens us. Each breath is a letting go, a healing. Inhale deeply, recognizing suffering. Exhale, smiling, and letting it go. When the mind is embraced by mindfulness, suffering will dissipate like morning mist meeting the sun. Look at the life around us. How many people once thought they had lost everything? But then, thanks to that, they found themselves. Some lost their jobs, thought life was over. But then, thanks to that, they were able to do what they loved. Some were betrayed, thought they couldn't get back up. But then they learned self-respect and self-love. Suffering is a lesson. Peace is a reward. If we understand the lesson, the reward will come naturally. But if we skip the lesson will repeat endlessly in life. The universe never wants us to hurt, but only wants us to grow. One morning, when mist still covered the hillside, young Sin sat in front of his house, watching the sun gradually rise. He smiled gently. The pain in his leg was still there, but in his heart was a strange peace. The wind rustled through the bamboo grove, roosters crowed in the distance, leaves fell softly, all like a symphony of life. He suddenly understood that suffering also has its own sound. Only when the mind is clear can it be heard. If we always run, always resist, we will only hear noise. But when we stop, we will hear the whisper of peace within that very suffering. Those who listen to the Dharma are the same. When the mind is troubled, allow yourself to stop. No need to seek anything. Just listen to each teaching of the Buddha, like a drop of water falling into dry earth. Gradually, the soil of the mind will soften. The grass of serenity will grow. And then sleep will come gently, like a fallen flower. Suffering ends. Illness diminishes. The mind is at peace. All begin with a peaceful breath. Life does not promise to always be easy. But the Buddha taught that our minds can remain calm amidst difficulties, like a still lake, even when it rains, like the moon reflecting on water, even when waves rise. The moon's reflection is not broken. When we understand the nature of suffering, we no longer fear it. When we don't fear suffering, suffering loses its power. Just like Sin, thanks to a broken leg, his life was saved. We can also, thanks to the stumbles in life, find our true selves. Happiness is not somewhere far away. It is precisely mindfulness in every moment. The ability to see suffering with eyes of love. As night falls, if you are listening to these words, relax your whole body. Feel your breath slowly entering and exiting like waves lapping the shore. Inhale deeply, recognizing the suffering that once kept you awake. Exhale, smiling and letting go of all worries. Tonight, let suffering rest. Let the mind be at peace. For when the mind rests, the body will sleep soundly. Just like the sky after a storm, when the clouds disperse, the moon will reappear. The moon is always bright within you. It's just that the clouds of suffering once obscured it. When you understand suffering, the clouds will naturally disperse, and the moon of peace will shine again. Remember, suffering is not an end. It is just a comma on the journey of awakening. One day, when you look back, you will smile with gratitude for the wounds that once brought you tears, because, thanks to them, your heart learned how to love, forgive, and live more gently. As the Buddha said, when the mind is at peace, all things are at peace. When the mind is at peace, suffering is no longer suffering. When the mind is at peace, sleep will also become sweet, like the sound of a stream flowing through a quiet forest. And then, in the quiet night, you will feel a very strange kind of happiness in your heart. It is the happiness of understanding, of letting go, of profound gratitude. When we understand suffering, we embrace suffering. When we know how to let go, we find peace. Life is inherently impermanent, but amidst that impermanence, there is one thing that does not change: the ability to awaken within each human being. That is the source of peaceful sleep, of a light body and mind, of the beautiful life that the Buddha teaches us to strive for. Tonight, if you close your eyes, please let the smile of that understanding lull you into peaceful sleep. Now, as night has fallen deep, as the sounds of life seem to have subsided, and only our own breath mingles with the breath of the universe, let your heart be at peace. Do not try to think of anything more. The sorrows, the worries, the unfinished tasks of the day, send them all temporarily to the heart of Mother Earth. Send them into the gentle night wind. All worries have dissipated. All thoughts have stopped, leaving only your mind breathing softly, like moonlight falling on a still lake. Let your body and mind both rest, both let go, both return to their inherent peace. Life is like that. There are tiring days. There are restless nights without sleep. Not because we don't want to rest, but because our mind refuses to settle. The Buddha taught that when the mind is at peace, all phenomena are at peace. When your mind is no longer bound by craving, aversion, and ignorance, when you know how to smile at what has passed and let go of what cannot be changed, sleep will come gently, like the fragrance of a lotus in the early morning. Because it is when the mind has settled that the body truly rests. Imagine you are lying in a still, silent field. A cool breeze wafts by. The scent of wild grass subtly permeates the air. Above, the full moon seems to look down, gently, compassionately. Everything is peaceful, and you realize there is no need to rush anymore. Tomorrow has not yet come. The past has passed. In this moment, just breathe deeply, recognizing that this breath is coming in and going out, nourishing life in every cell. That is the virtuous practice of mindfulness, the path the Buddha pointed out. Living in the present, mindful in every breath. An old woman in Vo village once shared, "Before, I suffered from insomnia for many years. I worried about my children and grandchildren, feared illness, feared loneliness. But since hearing the Dharma, I understood that this fear was just a cycle of delusion. I began to practice sitting still before sleeping, clasping my hands and reciting Namo Amitabha Buddha. Each recitation was slow, like a drop of water falling into a stream. Then one day, I realized I had drifted off to sleep in that recitation, gently, without nightmares. From then on, my sleep became peaceful, no longer restless." She said, "My child, when we know how to let go, sleep finds us. No need to chase sleep. Just let the mind be at peace." That lesson is simple, yet profound. Because sometimes we lose sleep not because our body is tired, but because our mind is tormenting itself, arguing with itself. Perhaps it's past mistakes, perhaps unresolved worries, or perhaps things we longed for that didn't come true. But my child, night is for resting. Night is not for judging, not for punishing yourself. Let everything drift away. Let your mind rest like a lake that stops rippling after the wind. When you lie down, let your body be completely comfortable. Gently close your eyes. Smile a little. Feel that this breath is a gift from the Buddha, proof that you still have the opportunity to live, to love, to start over. Inhale. You know you are still alive. Exhale. You know you are letting go of something unnecessary. Just like that, your breath flows in and out like lapping waves, like the sound of a temple bell echoing in the night. That bell sound is not coming from outside, but resonating from within your heart, reminding you to be awake, to be at peace. If there is still something unsettling in your heart, try a small exercise. Imagine a bright candle in your heart. That light is the light of compassion, of forgiveness. Shine that light on the things that cause you suffering. It could be someone who once hurt you, or your old self. Whisper in your mind, "I forgive. I understand. I let go." When you truly say it from your heart, you will feel the heaviness in your chest gradually melt like ice in the sun. Then Sleep is no longer something to strive for, but a natural blessing that comes. The Buddha once taught that one who knows how to let go is free. When we know how to let go, we no longer fear tomorrow, no longer regret yesterday. Then sleep is no longer an escape, but a return to oneself, to one's breath, to a pure soul. See sleep as a practice. Every night, before closing your eyes, pray that all sentient beings may be at peace, that your loved ones may be safe, that those you once resented may find happiness. When loving kindness spreads, the mind immediately lightens, and the light of compassion will radiate like the full moon covering the earth. Can you hear it? In the night, the temple bell echoes far and wide, deep and warm. That bell sound is like awakening your mind, but also lulling you to sleep. Each bell sound is a moment of mind stillness, a reminder that life is only temporary. Whatever you haven't done, let's plan for tomorrow. Whatever you are sad about, let the wind carry it away. For now, just be at peace. If today you feel weak and tired, know that it's normal. All humans have such moments. Even enlightened beings have experienced long, restless nights. The difference is that they know how to return to their breath, to mindfulness. They do not resist suffering, but smile at it, and then see it gradually dissipate in the light of understanding. You can be like that too. No need to try hard, just return to awareness, smile, and let go. Now, as you are listening to these words, let your heart be light, like a leaf falling on water. Nothing to cling to, nothing heavy, only peace. Let sleep come naturally, like flowers blooming in spring. No forcing, no striving. For in that very naturalness is the profound dharma of impermanence. Everything is flowing, and sleep is also a part of that flow. Before you close your eyes, begin with a thought of gratitude. Gratitude for this body that has been resilient with you throughout the long day. Gratitude for your parents who gave you life. Gratitude for life, which, despite its suffering, has taught you lessons of growth. Gratitude even for those who once hurt you, for thanks to them, you understood the value of forgiveness. Gratitude for yourself, for trying, for enduring, for not giving up. When gratitude arises, your mind will be bright like a lamp, and in that light, darkness has no place to hide. Now, all worries have dissipated, all thoughts have stopped. Let your mind sink into peaceful sleep amidst the temple bell, amidst gentle breaths, amidst deep gratitude. You are being embraced in the arms of the Buddha, of the universe, of the compassion within you. Let that light guide you into a deep sleep, where there are no more bad dreams, no more afflictions, only pure serenity, like a mountain spring. Sleep in peace, sleep in the light of compassion.